Today's episode is brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline has you covered this season with more props, odds, and lines than ever before. BetOnline is where the game starts.
You are Locked On MLB. Your daily MLB podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hello, baseball fans. Welcome to Locked On MLB, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. This is the daily podcast. We talk about all of Major League Baseball. I'm your host, Paul Francis Sullivan. Please call me Sully. Today's episode is being recorded and dropped on Sunday, the 26th day of June, 2022. Chances are you're hearing it, though, on Monday, June 27th. I don't want anyone to be confused. Hey, we are indeed going to be doing a Monday crossover with Miller Thomas. That will be tomorrow. So I'm doing one on Sundays just so I can feel pure that Miller and I record on Mondays. These sort of things are important to me. Also, by the way, this week we're also going to have Nash Walker from Locked On Twins to talk about the fact that the Minnesota Twins have taken advantage of the worst time of the year for the Cleveland Guardians to go on a little bit of a slump. And then, oh, by the way, they went on a little bit of a slump because they ran into the hottest team in baseball, a team that looked dead in the water in mid-May. We had an ALCS matchup that looked like it was everything that we could bargain for. And one of the best players in baseball, the reigning NL MVP, is out for the year. Possibly. Doesn't look good. Hey, follow us on Locked On MLB Pods on Twitter and Instagram. I'm your pal Sully. I'm at Sully Baseball on Twitter, Sully Baseball Podcast on Instagram. Yeah, Bryce Harper got hit in the thumb. That stinks. That stinks with a capital stinks because the Phillies were actually playing pretty well. In fact, they won the game where he broke his thumb and they came back from behind and beat San Diego on Sunday afternoon. And the Phillies are slowly but surely creeping back into this. They had a wonderful run recently. And, where the Braves were playing like they were a team possessed. And, they certainly held their own against Los Angeles this weekend. But the Mets have, they've held up their arm. They've kept, even though they lost a walk-off game to Miami, they are still in control with the best record in the National League right now. And the Braves have calmed down a little bit. And it looked like the Phillies were lining things up. An inside pitch to Harper breaks the man's thumb. And, at first, some people were trying to give Harper grief for the way that he reacted, that he acted emotional. Let's see all you not act emotional when you just got nailed in the hand with a 9,500 mile an hour pitch that broke your damn thumb. I would probably get emotional. I'm not going to lie to you. I am not going to lie to you, folks. And even Harper, amidst all of that, yelled back to the San Diego pitcher, I know you didn't do it on purpose. He knew that this was not, pitch got away. And as it turned out, boom, the reigning NL MVP is probably gone for the year because he's got to miss a significant amount of time. And mind you, folks, we are currently roughly at the halfway point of the season. So if you're going to miss a significant amount of time, that doesn't look very good. And I'm seeing here, I have my other screen up here right now. So those of you watching the video, by the way, I am trying to fix the video issues here. Hopefully today's video will go slightly without a hitch. But, there was a tweet that was put out by Jason Stark regarding the last, basically the last 162 games of Bryce Harper's production. And currently my computer is not cooperating with me. But the fact of the matter is that the type of production, I may have to use my phone here. I was trying to use this other computer, and it is slower than molasses. So I'll just tell you right here and now, the tweet that Jason Stark sent out. Here it is. Look at that. Found it on my phone in a nanosecond. said Bryce Harper's last 162 games before he broke his hand. 42 home runs, 55 doubles. That's 99 extra base hits. 99 extra base hits. He slashed, do you like batting average? 324. Do you like on-base percentage? 420. Make all the jokes you want there. You like slugging percentage? He slugged 643. His OPS for the last 162 games has been 1.063. That's 290 times he reached base. And throw in the fact that he stole 17 bases as well. He was the MVP of last year, and he was putting together another tremendous year for this year. And boom, gone. Toodaloo. Get a cab. That's it. And, that's breathtaking. That's breathtaking how quickly it can turn around right there. Now, the Phillies have to look themselves in the mirror. The Braves lost Ronald Acuna Jr., their MVP candidate last year, and went on to dust themselves off and win the World Series. Can the Phillies do that? If the Phillies have their manager fired and lose their MVP, he was the MVP of the league, and win a World Series, then, more power to everybody. Let's just go around the league a little bit as we got to see Freddie Freeman come back to Atlanta, and I'm glad he got a nice reception. I'm glad that the fans cheered him on. Do you know why? He helped them win a damn World Series. I hate this sort of I wonder what his reception will be like from the fans. It should be nothing but standing ovations over and over again. He was a Brave for 10, 11 years, won an MVP, helped them win a World Series. Why would there be any question of that? And I'm glad that there was no question of that. And that was just tremendous. And the Braves are showing that they are a playoff team right now. They would be a wild card team, and they held their own against Los Angeles over this weekend. So, beware. This is not you take a look at baseball is a game where the best team does not always advance. Every year there's a team that looks, look at the last couple of years, like in 2017, where the Indians were playing at a different level with a 20-something winning streak and 100-some-odd wins. They didn't get past a Yankee squad that was playing over their heads. Remember how the Dodgers were a 100-some-odd win team in 2019, and they lost the deciding division series game to Washington, team that went on to win the World Series. Remember how the Rays were the only 100-win team in the American League last year, and they didn't get out of the division series? Hell, no 100. You had 300-win teams last year, and none of them wound up playing in the World Series. Now, that being said, you're taking a look at some of the teams that are, super contending right now, and there is something that is kind of disturbing. If you say there's 3 wild card teams, Yankees, Red Sox, Rays, Blue Jays, you have the Twins, you have the Guardians, and you have the Astros. Those are the only teams playing above 500. And only one of those teams will miss the playoffs, which means right now Baltimore, the White Sox, although the White Sox won again today, and maybe they'll get themselves there, but they're still sub 500 as we're approaching July. Detroit, Kansas City. The Rangers are the only team that seem to be trying in the American League West. The Mariners, the Angels, and the A's are not contenders. There's a mess of teams that are not contenders. The Marlins are, edging closer to 500. They beat the Mets. But the Nats are rebuilding. The Pirates are rebuilding. The Cubs are rebuilding. The Reds are rebuilding. Diamondbacks are rebuilding. And the Rockies are rebuilding. Now, I'm being a little bit of a broken record that I don't think it's good for baseball to have, roughly half your teams not even putting a watchable product on the field when you've already expanded the playoffs. Where is the suspense going to be in the playoff runs? The only one really is in the 2 Centrals. And that's one of the reasons why the Minnesota-Cleveland series, which is restarting again today, is intriguing because they're actually playing for a playoff spot. Everyone else seems to already have it locked up. We know the Astros are going to win the West, and we know the Yankees are going to win the East. We know the Mets are going to make the playoffs. We know the Dodgers are going to make the playoffs. Chances are Atlanta. And what's going to happen down the stretch is a lot of these teams are going to, they're going to sell off the players who are going to be non-tendered or not offered a long-term deal. And, in a way, that's a smart thing to do. And if you're a contending club, you should try to pick those carcasses dry. But what does that mean for the final third of the season? Are you going to have a Reds team that's going to be worse than what we have now? Are we going to have a Cubs team that's worse? Are we going to have a Nats team that's worse? Are we going to have an A's team? We saw that, Montez was through a no-hitter into the eighth inning, and the A's bullpen blows it. And so he doesn't even forget a no-hitter, as we get a win for his trouble. We'll get to another near no-hitter. So they're going to trade him because he's going to be one of the most valuable trade chips out there, and they could probably get a ton for them. But if you play the A's down the stretch, you're going to be playing a minor league team. Yes, I know they can show some pride and everything like that, but we have to address that. There has to be a way for baseball, even as they're expanding the playoffs, to find a way to have teams want to contend. Wasn't that the whole point of expanding the playoffs? Is to have more teams trying to go for it? To have more teams that are on the cusp and say, hey, look, if we put together fill a hole here and fill a hole there, we can get there. No one seems to care. We're going to have a second half of the season where it's just going to be about playoff positioning. And we all saw how important that was as the Braves knocked off the Dodgers and the Red Sox knocked off the Rays. It makes me question what team is really going out there and, trying to put together those great memories, trying to earn that ring. And hey, if you have great memories and you want to get someone a ring, here's what you got to do. You got to check out BlueNile.com. Whether you're ready to pop the question or you're celebrating a milestone event, find jewelry as unique as the one you love with modern convenience of online shopping. BlueNile.com. If you're looking for fine jewelry but having trouble choosing, Blue Nile has jewelry expert on hand 24/7, available via phone or chat to help you find a memorable gift at every budget. Make your moment sparkle with jewelry from BlueNile.com, and Locked On MLB listeners will get $50 off of any purchase of $500 or more. This podcast exclusive includes engagement rings. So use code LOCKEDON. That's code LOCKEDON. Plus, every order is insured, ships free, and arrives in discreet packaging that won't give away what's inside. Shop stress-free and find your forever peace. Go to BlueNile.com today. And hey, let's talk about one other thing here. Our next partner has a project that I literally use every day. I started taking AG1 from Athletic Greens because I am over 50 and I want to ensure my gut health, have more energy, and increase my immune system. Not sure you've been reading the news or not. Having an immune system that's strong these days is pretty important. But guess what? I'm not of the mindset that I'm going to have 100 pills in front of me trying to figure out all the right vitamins that I need to have. This is where Athletic Greens comes in handy. It's lifestyle friendly, whether you eat keto, paleo, vegan, dairy-free, or gluten-free. It contains less than 1 gram of sugar, no GMOs, no nasty chemicals, or artificial anything, and it still tastes good. Supports better sleep quality and recovery, supports mental clarity with alertness. It's the one thing that's made of all the best things. Look at tons of people take some sort of multivitamin, and it's important to choose one with high-quality ingredients that your body will absorb. Athletic Green 1 is small micro habit with big benefits. It's the one thing you can do every single day to take great care of yourself. Your subscription comes with a full year's supply of vitamin D, which is important to add these, as well, not all of us get into the sun as often as we'd like, and it costs you less than $3 a day. Okay, Athletic Greens has over 7,000 five-star reviews. It's recommended by professional athletes and trusted by leading health experts such as Tim Ferriss and Michael Gervais. Right now, it's time to reclaim your health and arm your immune system with convenient daily nutrition. It's just one scoop of water every day. That's it. No need for a million different pills or supplements to look out for your health. To make it easy, Athletic Greens will give you a free one-year supply of immune-supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you have to do is visit athleticgreens.com/MLB Network. Again, that's athleticgreens.com/MLB Network to take ownership of your health and pick the ultimate daily nutritional insurance. All right, folks. Two teams that certainly are going for it, and they went for it with a really, really memorable weekend. In the Bronx, you got to see a wild comeback with a 3-run home run in the bottom of the ninth and a walk-off hit by Hicks in the first game as the Astros looked like they were taking control of the game early, and it was just a knockdown drag-out. And then the second game, Justin Verlander. Remember him? Justin Verlander came out and pitched a brilliant game, 7 strong innings, allowing just 1 run. And the Astros basically said, hey, we're here, okay? And then came Saturday. And it was, the fact that the Astros got together and they got themselves a combined no-hitter. A beautiful combined no-hitter. And do you know what? This is a combined no-hitter that I know a lot of people are all for the the machismo of the starting pitcher going 9 innings. And yeah, I can understand the fact that some people saw that Christian Javier threw 7 no-hit innings. Why not have him go into the 8th? Why not have him go into the 9th? Well, let me remind you something. First of all, they got the no-hitter. Okay? In the end, they got it. No reliever came in to spoil it. Christian Javier gets the win, all that other thing. Keep in mind one other thing about that game. Who is the Astros manager? Dusty Baker. What has been following Dusty Baker his whole career, at least for the last decade? No, scratch that, the last 2 decades. He was blamed for overusing Pryor. He was blamed for overusing Wood, that he gassed them, that the 2 great aces that were going to deliver a World Series title to the city of Chicago were overused by Dusty Baker. He probably has heard that in his sleep. He probably hears that when he's not dreaming of Darren Baker being picked up by JT Snow at home plate during the 2002 World Series. Okay? Look, I'm a huge Dusty Baker fan. I also have memories of him giving my father agita when he was the manager of the Giants. Dusty, not my dad. My dad was never the manager of the Giants. I want to squash that rumor right here and now. And all the times people gave him crap about how he handled his pitching staff and this, that, or the other thing. And so here we go. He has a pitcher throwing a ton of pitches. And now he takes him out. Maybe that's something in his mind. Like, I'm not going to blast this guy's arm because he knows he has been blessed with the best chance he could possibly have right now to check off that final thing on his Hall of Fame resume. He's one of the all-time managers in terms of wins over his career. He's led the Giants, the Cubs, the Reds, the Nationals, and the Astros to the postseason. He's taken 2 of those teams to the World Series and was ripped off in 1993 when he had a 103-win Giant team that couldn't make the postseason by the way that it was all set up back then. It was a better pennant race. Shut up. They lost the West to Atlanta. Atlanta's not in the West. I will never understand why that happened. And that would have been the greatest NLCS of all time. That Braves team against that Giants team. It would probably still be going on. Game 7 would be into the 3rd decade of extra inning play. So the man who's been screamed at his whole life about wearing down his pitchers, made the decision to take him out, and it worked. And lo and behold, what happened today? They took a no-hitter in the 7th again, Urquidy. And then what happened? Home run by Stanton, home run by LeMahieu. Boy, by the way, of all the trades the Yankees made, the greatest trade they made was mediocre LeMahieu for good LeMahieu. And LeMahieu is good again. And that's one of the big reasons why the Yankees are playing so much better than they did last year. Last year, they were a 90-win team. They did make the playoffs. But they didn't have that LeMahieu spark plug that they had in 2019 and they had in the COVID season. Well, now he's back. And lo and behold, look at the results that it's given them. He can get the big home run. He can get the big hit. He can do all the things he's supposed to. He's a super smart player. Stanton hits one to the moon. LeMahieu ties it up. Now, of course, Gleyber Torres gets hurt, and we're going to see what happened there. But the Astros the minute the Yankees tied the game, even though the Astros loaded the bases in the 10th inning, I was like, the Yankees will win this game. Because the Yankees are having one of those kind of seasons. At least for the regular season, everything is falling into place. And Judge, of course, hits the walk-off home run. Judge is making a phenomenal case to be the MVP. Statistically, you could throw Judge at me, okay? You could throw Trout. You can throw, I'm sure you can still throw Ohtani. I'm sure you can throw Jose Ramirez, who is having a wonderful year. I'm sure there's someone else I'm not thinking of right here and now. But I think it's Judge. He's the best player on the best team and keeps coming up huge in these big events. I know I'm not supposed to use that kind of thought process when putting together a MVP case, but the fact of the matter is he's making a fabulous, fabulous case for himself right now. Rafi Devers is as well. I'll get to the Red Sox in the final segment. This could be an ALCS preview. And what a delicious ALCS this would be. Because, yes, the Yankees are the best team in baseball right now. And will certainly be a 100-win team. Even if they play 500 ball the rest of the way, they're going to be a 100-win team. But the Astros, despite the fact that they didn't win the series and the 2 games that they played, they had bullpen meltdowns. The Astros have a good bullpen. Okay? This is not this is not a situation. This is not the Detroit Tigers of the mid-2000s. This is not the Bobby Cox Braves, where they're a wonderful team with a crap bullpen. Okay? I'm not sure I'm allowed to say that word anymore. They told us to cut down on our profanity. Sorry about that. Have that be a debit column. I'll sell some more Built Bars. But this would be an intriguing ALCS because, quite frankly, the Yankees look like a powerful juggernaut, but the defending American League champions do have the pitching staff that would be able to topple them. Remember when the Mariners won 116 games, it was the Yankees, the defending World Series champions, who managed to topple them with a superior pitching staff and some timely hitting. The ALCS, if it's between the Astros and the Yankees, would be a potential classic. But before we get too far ahead of ourselves, let me rewind the tape back to 8 years ago. At this point, it was 8 or 9 years ago. No, 8 years ago. Math is not my strong suit. In 2014, at this point in the season, the Oakland A's and the Detroit Tigers looked like the 2 teams that were on a collision course to the ALCS. They both had tremendous pitching. They both had timely hitting. They had both faced off in the playoffs each of the previous 2 years. In 2012 and 2013, they played in back-to-back memorable division series that went 5 games each. The Tigers were playing at an unbelievable clip, and the A's were the best team in baseball. The A's made a bunch of deals, including bringing in Jeff Samardzija and bringing in John Lester. And the Tigers made a bunch of trades, including bringing in David Price. And it looked like these 2 teams were mounting up for a ALCS for the ages. This is why it's tough to make your ALCS predictions at this point, because neither team got out of the division series. In fact, the A's lost the wild card game in that thriller against Kansas City, and the Tigers got swept by Baltimore. The LCS is always difficult to foresee, even when there are two great teams that are at the heart of it. Yes, sometimes you get that Red Sox Yankee matchup. Yes, sometimes you get the two best teams butting heads and absolutely pushing and pulling. But usually one team you're not expecting sneaks in there. What I am saying, though, is if the ALCS is indeed between the Astros and the Yankees, it would be a classic. Keep in mind, one of the teams that spoiled the party for the best team in the American League to get to the LCS is on fire right now. And it is right now a surefire bet that this team has a World Series participation dancing in their head right now. If you're going to make any bets, go to betonline.net. It's your number one source for all your betting needs and sports info. Find all the latest sports developments, league reviews, and news, including this year's Stanley Cup Finals and Major League Baseball. BetOnline is your continued source for all your sporting wagering information, including live betting, esports, and scores, and remains the best spot, BetOnline, for all your sports scores, podcasts, and news this season. BetOnline.net is the fastest and easiest way to check on all your favorite sports events, including MMA, boxing, and golf. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends and action. BetOnline is where the game starts. Hey, do you remember the Red Sox on May 11th? They had a walk-off loss against Atlanta on that day. And on that day, they fell to 11-20. That was their record at that point, 11-20. This was in mid-May. The only team worse in the American League at that time was Detroit. Remember, a lot of people thought Detroit was going to turn some things around this year. Well, the Red Sox had the second worst record in the American League. And only the Reds, at that time, only the Reds, Tigers, and Nationals had a worse record than the Boston Red Sox in mid-May. And as someone who's followed the Red Sox his whole life, I was starting to kind of rationalize that this was maybe kind of sort of par for the course for the recent years with the Boston Red Sox. Think about it. There's been a bunch of years since the collapse of 2011. Okay, so it's really the last decade. They've either been awful, the last place Bobby Valentine year, finishing in last place in 2014, finishing in last place in 2015, finishing in last place in the COVID season, or they've been playoff teams, winning the World Series in 2013 and 2018, winning the division in 2016 and 2017, making it to the ALCS last year. You only had the 1 year, 2019, where they were just mediocre. It seemed to be, here we have thoughts of the World Series, or, well, maybe they'll get a decent draft pick for their troubles. And I started to think, man, this really could be that kind of team, isn't it? I took a look at their pitching. I took a look at their hitting. The Yankees were playing out of their mind. Clearly, Tampa and Toronto were better. Hell, at that point, even Baltimore was better. And 11 and a half games out already, playing sub-400 ball in mid-May. And I thought to myself, this is probably just a lost year. Since that day, do you know what team has been better than the Red Sox? Nobody. Okay, maybe you can point to the Yankees having better run differential, and the Red Sox they have the exact same number of wins since that as the Yankees, and the Red Sox have lost one fewer game. But since then, they've been playing above 700 ball. And they've not all been tomato cans. The Cleveland Guardians were red hot going into this series, beating up the Minnesota Twins and getting back to a first-place tie. And the Red Sox came in and took them to the woodshed, swept them clean. Swept them at home in Cleveland. Now, any team in baseball, they play better than the Yankees. They play better than the Astros. Toronto, Cleveland, play better than the Braves, play better than the Mets, play better than the Padres. All in a month and a half, the Red Sox have been playing out of their mind. And yes, they're getting tremendous hitting. And yes, it enrages me that they still don't have the long-term deals. Why aren't Bogarts and Devers locked up for the long term? Have you seen what they're doing? Story can sometimes look great, sometimes look bad, but he tends to get some big hits. JD Martinez is hitting the way we all know he could. Verdugo's got some big, huge hits along the way. Dahlbeck has not been great, but he's gotten some big hits. Ref Snyder has done his job. Duran has done his job. Remember what I said a couple of weeks ago, that they got to maybe bring a couple of young players to spark the team? Well, in comes Duran, and he's doing everything you could want him to do. Franchi Cordero, he's got a couple of big hits along the way. But the thing that's absolutely mind-boggling to me is the Red Sox are doing this with pitching. And they're doing it with Whitlock, and they're doing it with the Eovaldi on the injured list. Pavetta's been a revelation. Rich Hill guts his way through games like he did on Sunday. Michael Wacha has been one of the best acquisitions in all of baseball. Winchowski, is that how you pronounce his name? I don't know. He's only pitched 4 games, but he's been very good. And Schreiber has been a godsend to the bullpen and has allowed Tanner Houck, has allowed Strom, has allowed Hansel Robles to find their roles. I thought the pitching staff, the reason I didn't pick the Yankees to go to the playoffs wasn't because, you just hate the Yankees. No, I didn't trust their pitching staff. I did not think they had a very good pitching staff. And I was proven wrong. The Yankees pitching staff has been unbelievable. But the Red Sox pitching staff, all right, no one's going to mistake this for the 1995 Braves. But the depth that they've had on this team and the effective games they've been getting out of it, it's funny that Eovaldi and Whitlock are injured. So is Matt Barnes. And the idea of trusting Matt Barnes to any of these games anymore. Look, I loved Matt Barnes. Matt Barnes was part of a World Series champion team. He saved some very big games along the way. He's not effective anymore. Danish is better these days. Sawamura is better these days. And Diekman is better these days. Strom is better these days. Right now, if Barnes came back, he would be a mop-up man. As well he should be. Not a knock on Barnes. He's not a spring chicken anymore. And you take a look at this team, they haven't gotten anything from Sale yet. Sale has pitched as many games as I have this year. And going back to what I said before, with all these teams that are going to be out of contention, if the Red Sox got just one more starting pitcher, now that starting pitcher could wind up just being Eovaldi or Sale or Whitlock, or Winchowski could be able to hold his own. But if they got one more solid veteran in there and allowed the bullpen to have a little more depth because of the starter that they would move into the pen, all of a sudden, this team, who since the midway point of May has played better than any team in baseball, should be putting the Astros and the Yankees on notice. There's a lot of emphasis placed on the Nationals in 2019 and the Braves of 2020 having losing records at certain points of the season. And it's true, they both did. But when you saw by the time they were playing, by the end of the year, they were firing on cylinders that they weren't a sub-500 team by the end. They were the team that everyone expected them to be. Is this what's happening in Boston? Which one of you thought when they were below the Orioles thought we were going to get this? It's all interesting. It's all interesting. And we're going to have an interesting week of games, including the revival of the Minnesota versus Cleveland series and seeing what we're going to get out of the American League Central, which in the end might be the only real race that we have in the second half of the season. But we're going to have lots of podcasts here. Miller's going to be here tomorrow. We're going to talk Twins later in the week. We may talk more Red Sox. We may talk more Cleveland. We may see what's happening down in San Diego. We're going to see how this season unfolds. But follow us on Locked On MLB Pod. Same handle for Instagram. I'm your pal Sully. I'm at Sully Baseball on Twitter, Sully Baseball Podcast on Instagram. Hoping that these video problems are fixed. I really, really do hope that they're fixed. And giving you the podcast that you deserve here on Sunday or Monday morning, whenever you're listening to my voice. This has been Locked On MLB for the 26th day of June, 2022. I'm your host, Paul Francis Sullivan. Please call me Sully.